Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse, and today I have Katie here with me because it is Administrative Professionals Day, and she is my administrative professional. So I just wanted to have her on and say thank you.
Thank you very much.
She's awesome, and she handles all of my travel arrangements when I want to go to conferences, and does a great job because I don't understand how all the credit card system works here. There's a lot of paperwork. Also, she's awesome. She's like right outside my door. Her desk is right there, so she can hear me streaming, and she's super fun and nice. So thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. I've been listening to the show now for a year outside of his door. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I could maybe do some coding, but I really couldn't.
You could do it.
But I got a nice plant from everybody that I think I could keep alive. I'm going to try really hard.
It does look nice.
Yeah, a geranium, which likes sun and water. So, I don't know. I'm going to try. But it's beautiful, so. Jesse works with a good team here. He's smart when he shows up. He works from home a lot, so we don't get to see him. Or sometimes he'll be in here for hours, and he'll have his door closed, and we won't even know he's here. So, when he does emerge, he's fun.
Cool.
All right.
Anything else you want to say to YouTube?
No, thank you for watching me. I feel like a star, even though I've been on here for 30 seconds. So, all right. Do your thing, Jesse.
Awesome. Thanks.
Right. Bye, everybody. See you then.
All right, so Katie is really awesome, and she was a good sport about coming on the show, and so you don't get to see the rest of my team here, but we have Katie, and Brian Sizemore is also, he works as a developer as well. And he's just an awesome guy. And my boss, Tom, and Liz doesn't work directly with programming, but she works on a lot of our marketing campaigns. And there's just so many awesome people in our department. We got video people, photographers, graphic designers, writers. So there's a lot of other people that provide content and support for what I'm doing. So it's just, I don't know. It's kind of cool. Maybe I'll make more of an effort to get them involved. But since today was Administrative Professionals Day, I thought I'd bring Katie on. And all right, so let's get started. Today is going to be a little bit different than normal because we're going to work on an old site. I try to do like more new stuff. We try to keep our packages up to date. We even use some beta stuff. But I need to make an update to something I built about 2 years ago. So I thought I'd start right from the beginning, and I'll go through cloning the repo, installing all the packages, and starting it up. And that may be helpful for those of you that are new to GitHub and Git. And looks like we have someone new, Vishaka, welcome. Let me know if I'm not pronouncing that right. So just joined freeCodeCamp about a week ago, and I'm already in love. It's awesome. Oh, so glad you like it, and I'm glad you're watching. So see a lot of other people are saying hello. So so we're gonna do. If you're new to the stream, which there are some new people here, I break things up and I do 25 minutes of coding where I kind of talk through what I'm doing, and then I take 5 minutes and I answer questions in the chat. We do another 25 minutes of coding, and then at the end, the whole rest of the stream is dedicated to question and answer. And so if you have any questions, please put them in, but be patient. I will get to all the questions eventually. Let's see, Robot Villa says hi, and that is, let's see, I believe Robot Villa is the company of, I can't remember. If you don't mind, what was your name? I know because I saw you on the Moms Can Code thing. and I follow you on Twitter and Instagram. Why am I blanking out? Anyway, thanks for watching. Francesca, that's it, Francesca. All right. So sorry, I can't believe I forgot your name. I see your stuff all the time. um, all right, cool. Who else? Harshit's in here. All right. Let's get started with this, and then I'll come back to the chat. So let me show you my screen, and you can see I'm starting out with just my terminal, right? So I'm in my projects folder, and I want to get this project, which I'll bring over. I want to get this project onto my computer, so you can see most of this was from 2 years ago. I have made some minor updates since then. I want to go to the clone button, and I want to just copy. I have my SSH key set up, so I copy this. If you don't have your SSH keys, then you'll want to use the HTTPS link. And my GitHub looks dark in the background. This is just a theme that I have running on top of the regular GitHub, so don't worry if yours doesn't look exactly like this. Who else? Inna's here. Hey Inna, how's it going? And Jeff asked if we were going to do ngrok today. I'm not going to do ngrok today because the site I'm working on you have to have a login for, so even if I shared it with you, you'd still need a login, so it wouldn't really work. So, oops, forgot a step. Let's go. We need to do Git Clone. So you'd have to have Git installed on your machine already, which I did do a video about installing Git and cloning a repo. So if you want to check out like how to do that, the video is on my YouTube channel. The link is in the description. So we do a Git clone, and then I paste in that that address that I just got from GitHub, and we hit enter, and now, wow, that was really fast. So really fast. So now we should have a folder called FUS Bulletin in our projects folder. So let's do an ls just to see everything, and we'll see FUS Bulletin. So now we're going to change directory, cd, into FUS Bulletin, and we're going to do, I'm going to open this in Visual Studio Code. So if you have the command line stuff set up for Visual Studio Code, you can just type in code, and then in this case I'm just going to type a period, and that's going to open up everything in this folder in Visual Studio Code. So after this opens up, we'll be able to see our folder structure, and we're going to go into let's go into our package.json first, just get an idea of what we're using in this project. So we do have this running with Gulp. So Gulp's not quite as popular as it used to be. Everybody's using Webpack now, but you may remember Gulp. And let's see, we are using some Babel stuff, so we're able to use some of the newer things. And looks like we're deploying this with Flight Plan. Awesome. So not really a very complex project, and actually I can update this. Because sorry, it's really hard to type and talk at the same time. So evidently I copied like the starter for this project from a previous project, and I never bothered to change the package.json. So we'll change that now. That'll be one of our changes. Now our next step is going to be to actually load these packages. And this was so far back that I hadn't even used Yarn yet. So you notice for most of my projects I use Yarn instead of NPM. And I want to view the integrated terminal, so we could do it all right here in one screen. So if you are using Visual Studio Code, this is a super useful tool. I want to split this as well, because we're going to run, we're going to actually run it in one screen once we get this going. So let's do npm, npm install. That's going to install all these packages and the dependencies for all of those packages, and it's going to put it in a folder. It's going to be called node modules, so we'll see that appear soon. And then we're going to be ready to run the project locally and start working on it. It looks like, is my audio out of sync with the video? It looks like it to me. Okay, now it looks okay again. It looked like it went out of sync for a second. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know if I had some problems yesterday, but that was on a different machine with the audio and video getting out of sync. All right, so you can see this is doing its thing. Sometimes it takes longer than others depending on how many packages and what packages you're bringing in. And while that's going, I'm going to go to the chat, just so we make good use of our time. And I'm going to look through the chat, see if there's any questions I can answer while we're waiting. Tova says, just signed up 2 weeks ago. Awesome. Awesome. I hope you're enjoying Free Code Camp, and thanks for watching the stream as well. Oh, cool. Harshit, who is in the Himalayas, says the time is 7 p.m. there, so it's a good time to stream. Michael said, I missed the intro. Who was that? If you missed the intro, you can always go back and watch it again, but I had one of my co-workers, Katie, here for the intro. So if you didn't catch that, you can go back and catch. It's just the first, maybe 2 or 3 minutes of the stream. John Doe said, can a newbie do this, knowing nothing about coding? I'm going to do my best to explain everything. So if you feel like it's a little bit beyond what you can do now, you still may be able to get something out of this stream. Ask questions, and you may be able to pick something up. I will say, though, for this stream, when I built this, I used the techniques that I knew best at the time. But that was 2 years ago. So even if it was cutting edge 2 years ago, which I don't even think it was cutting edge then, it's still outdated today. So the techniques and things that I use to solve problems will still be helpful no matter what, but I don't think like the actual code and stuff may be a good example of what to do. All right, it looks like it worked. So you see now we have our node modules folder, which has lots of stuff in there. So awesome that npm, which is Node Package Manager, handles all this for us. Can you imagine having to manually load all this stuff? It would make me not want to do this job if I had to do that for every project. So that's in there, and we should be able to use gulp watch. I believe that's the command. Yep. All right, gulp watch. So now it'll say that we can view our project locally at localhost 3012, so 3012. So let's try that out. Let me move some things around so we get a better idea what's going on. Okay, and it already opened for us. So I think we can. Well, let me see here. Okay, so let me show you what exactly we're going to be changing. And if we see anything that's weird along the way, we can change that. We can refactor depending on how much time that we have. But right now we have these categories. and we need an extra category here. So it's going to be a somewhat of a basic change, but we also need to make sure that our data gets categorized properly as well. So we're going to, I guess, temporarily miscategorize something just to make sure we can get it to show up. So this is actually pulling the live data from a WordPress installation. We're using the WordPress API for that, even though this is our local version. This project, by the way, is a private repo, so that's why I did not include a link to the code. And we have worked on a React version of this before. We just didn't finish it. So once we finish that, we'll be replacing this old jQuery version with React. All right, so just to give you a visual on what we're going to do, we'll be working in this area. Now let's go to the code, and let's go in our app. One good thing to know, if you ever get like a pre-made project structure, don't do any work directly in the dist folder. Make sure you're doing it in the app folder or whatever other folder, but just not dist. I once made the mistake when I was first learning Angular a long time ago, which I didn't learn it well, that I did a ton of work in the dist folder, and then it all went away because the dist folder will get rewritten when you go to build it. So that was very disappointing when I was just beginning, and it took me a long time before I even attempted it again because it was just so devastating for me. Let's see. All right, the stream just dropped for a second, so I was worried. But it looks like it's back again. So let's go into our app folder, and I guess I'm going to go into index. I think I do have this all, and just everything is in the index page. All right, so we'll scroll through, and I'll go through a little bit. I want to let you see my code. So one of the major things about the stream that I think is helpful is to let you all see my mistakes. And so this is an example of, I don't want to say mistakes, but work that I did 2 years ago that worked at the time. I was proud of it at the time, but now it's embarrassing to me. So a lot of you have seen my work that I do now. So this is a good comparison of where I was 2 years ago. So this part up here is just doing some checking for different browsers. And basically telling people to update their browser if they have an outdated browser. We're using a service called Auth0 to log people in. So that's where all this is coming in. And then the rest here should look like basic HTML to you all. So here's our body tag, right? And so now we have everything in here that we'd have, normally. We have headers, unordered lists, divs. All right, we have our nav component. All right, so now we're getting closer to where we need to be. So in our, so here's our side nav, and here's our filters. It says filters go here. Interesting. All right, I assumed that I hard-coded these in, but I guess I was a little smarter than that, and I'm actually getting categories from WordPress and putting them in there. Interesting. Okay, just a quick overview of the other things I have in here before I try this other thing that might make this a lot easier. You can see I have like this loading spinner thing here. And I use Materialize CSS as the framework. So if you're familiar with Bootstrap, Materialize is the material design version. It's not affiliated with Bootstrap, but what Bootstrap does, Materialize does, but with material design styles. So we got the spinner from there, and we have some containers where we're actually putting in posts using all jQuery for that. And we have some modals that open up with some forms in them for people to submit bulletin announcements. Okay. Yeah, so there's the markup. There's not a whole lot with the markup because we're loading so many things. I mean, really, the modals and the forms take up half the markup on the page. Everything else is being pulled in through with JavaScript. So forms. All right, so our app.js. And yeah, let's shrink this up, and let me make this a bit bigger. I'm afraid that might be too small. All right, so our login stuff was there. We're doing some filtering based on dates, and I just want to show you maybe one example of how I'm loading things in. I have some different buttons that change the layout. Let's see. As you can see, we're using fetch. So I just made a wrapper around fetch called Git JSON, right? But we were using the fetch API, so even back then. But I believe we were using polyfills with it as well. And so you see, we're getting data here from WordPress, and then we're appending, and this actually is right where we're going to be working in. So you see, we're getting categories. We're getting all the categories, and we are appending LIs for each category. So some of the categories are already hard-coded in there. So you can see like current bulletin, take action, and all are hard-coded. And then everything else gets added after that. It gets appended. So you could see, you know, here's those first three, and the rest of them get added on. Now, since I did it like this, what this means is I should be able to just change the data in our WordPress installation, and then it should come over and automatically be added into there. So I think we'll try that. Let's see. Oh, okay, I see. So this was just starting this temp. Let me explain this a little bit. I don't know. I guess it's not that obvious if you're just starting out. So what we're doing here, we're using jQuery. That's where this $sign comes in, and we're selecting the element on the page that has the ID of mobile demo. So that's kind of a bad ID. I probably just had it left in there from some example that I copied. And then we can use jQuery.append to add something to that element. So what I'm doing here is I'm using template literals. So when we have this little backtick, that's template literal syntax. So when you do that, think of it like you're making a string in JavaScript. So if you were to use a single or double quote, same thing, except when you use template literal syntax, you can have multi-line strings and it still works. Normally that will give you problems, but you can also put in some little snippets of JavaScript in the middle of this without having to use like the plus sign to concatenate it all together. So it's really great for templating, which is basically what I used here. So instead of using something like handlebars, which would have been really popular when I did this, as for a templating engine, I just made my own templates using template literals, and then adding in with jQuery to insert them into the page. So down here is where I actually get the categories. So you see we got the data, right? And then we're doing a .then. So, right, we get the data, then we want to pass the data in, right? So now data is available to us under the variable name of data, right? So inside there we have a function where we're taking data. So we're using for loop. So we're going to say let, and let is ES6, so ES 2015. So if you're used to using var, so VAR, you can use let in its place, and it has what's called block scoping. So you're less likely to accidentally overwrite things if you use let and const. All right, so there's a lot of other good things in there, but I'm not going to take time to explain them all right now. If you'd like to know more about using let and const instead of var, please ask it in the live chat, and I'll be happy to explain it later on. But this means basically we're looping through every category that's come to us in data, right? And that's JSON format. So JSON format, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically an array of objects. So it's going to loop over each object, and it's going to grab, so we're calling it category, right? So each one is going to be category, and we're using, let's see, category ID equals category's name. Where have I made? I must have made a variable somewhere called categories. All right. In any case, when we get to here, we are appending onto the element that has a class of filters. We're appending, and so this is, I believe, a drop down. We must have a drop down somewhere as well. So we're adding all the categories, category ID, category name, and since I didn't show the drop down, let's just skip that, and we'll go to where we have our mobile demo, and we're appending LIs. So for each category, we get the ID, we get the slug, and the name from that data, and we create an LI with an A tag inside, so link tag, with this data. All right, and once that's all created, then, okay, we go on and we add some other things. Let's see, do we add? Yeah, we do add quite a lot, but we're not going to talk about that right now, so I'm not going to go into that. But that's how we're building up the template. We're just taking that same mobile demo and we're appending things onto it. And you can see this is how we're pulling in JavaScript into our string, right? We have that template literal. This is obviously a string, but then once we get to here, we have a $sign and a curly bracket, and then now we're back in JavaScript land, and we've actually put some data in there. So this part is not a string, and then we close that curly bracket, and we're back into string land. And you can see inside this, we can even use double quotes, and it doesn't mess anything up, right? Just like you can use single quotes inside of double quotes, and it doesn't mess things up. Okay, so let's do something now, because I think I've been explaining for quite a while. So let's make something happen. I am going to go on my other screen into WordPress. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Let me add. On my other screen, all I'm doing is just logging into a simple WordPress installation, and I'm just going to add another category in here. And, I don't remember what that category is supposed to be. So let me check my phone, because I'm not currently logged into my email on my computer, so it'll be faster to check out my work email on my phone, see the email I got during yesterday's stream, to see what the category is supposed to be called. council minutes. Okay. Right. So let's add a category called council minutes. All right, so I've added a category called council minutes. And now I'm gonna empty the cache. So I have a lot of caching going on, so let me empty that first, and then when I refresh, let's see if we have it. No, I have so much caching going on. So let's inspect this, and let's go into application, and we're gonna go in here to local storage. And you see we have some stuff. Huh. Maybe we don't have it. Okay, normally I was storing a lot of stuff in local storage. Am I missing this? Let's just do a hard refresh. Hey, council minutes. We have council minutes, but we have no matching posts yet. So my timer just went off. When we come back, I'm going to try to add a post here and see if it will, in fact, show up here. And where's my timer? I lost it. There we go. It's over here. Oops. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll do a little bit of testing, and then we'll go over how to we'll go over how to save this commit, send the commit to GitHub, how to get our dist folder ready, and then how to push that up to our production server. So we'll do all that on the stream, so you'll get the full range of from cloning the repo all the way up to updating your production server. All right, so let me try to find where I left off. All right, Joe Matthews says Pomodoro technique, 25-5, 25. Yeah, so I do 25-5, and then so I do 4 25 sessions with 5s in between, but then on that last one I do a 10-minute break. Realistically though, it's rare that I get 4 uninterrupted sessions and to be able to even get to that 10-minute break. But that's how I use it. Marius says, will you be using some kind of framework? For this one, not exactly. So in terms of the styles, we're using Materialize CSS, but I've basically done everything else from scratch using jQuery. So all the routing is jQuery. Like I said, the templating is done using template literal syntax. So it was way more work, I think, than it had to be. Like had I known React at the time, I think I could have done better and potentially done this faster in React. So if you want to see any of the code for this, let me know. Or if you want me to explain how I did any of this, let me know. I'll do my best to remember. Jason asked if I attended any web conferences in Ohio. I have not attended any conferences in Ohio yet. So Jason's from Columbus. Yeah, I'd love to find out if there are any good conferences going on and go. I mean, because they'd be pretty close. I've attended conferences, SyntaxCon in South Carolina. I attended that twice. I spoke at November in Nashville. I will be at the Google I/O conference in Pittsburgh, which is soon, and I will be speaking at Pittsburgh Tech Fest, which obviously is in Pittsburgh as well. And I'm attending Revolution Conf, that's in Virginia Beach, and I believe that's next month. So those are where I'll be. I frequently apply to speak at different conferences, so I never know exactly what conferences I'll be at, and so I find out whether I'm accepted or not. Harshad asks, is that the same bulletin that was half written in React? Yes, it was, and I just never got a chance to keep working on it because other projects came up, and we're still working on those. Vishaka says, I haven't attended a live stream before. What's the goal here? So yeah, basically, the goal is just I wanted to give everybody a glimpse of what my day-to-day work is like. Especially, I wanted everyone to be able to see how many mistakes I make and how I try to work through that. I especially thought people who were beginners may feel intimidated by watching a lot of the normal tutorials because people don't make mistakes in tutorials. They're edited as they should be, right? They're to the point. But that's not really how it works, at least not for me. I mess up a lot, and sometimes I try things and it doesn't work, and I just gotta try something else. Sometimes we don't have time to do like the ideal solution, so we just do the good enough solution, and we're still able to, release websites that do their job, they function well, and that people are happy with. So that's kind of the goal of it. So it's not exactly a tutorial, although I do hope people learn, and I learn a lot from you all. So it's a little bit more interactive than a tutorial, but it literally is really like my real life job. If I wasn't streaming this, I would be working on this right now for my job. So I don't rehearse things because I want you to see as close as possible what it's really like. The only difference is I don't narrate what I'm doing to myself when I'm alone. But other than that, it is pretty much exactly what I would usually be working on and how I would be working on it. Okay. I'm just going to take note of where I'm leaving off at. And let's go back. So if I didn't get to your question yet, I'm sorry. I will get to it after this next Pomodoro session. So let me go through real quick. I just want to see if anybody wanted to see any part of the code. Okay, let's go back in here now, and I know. I wanted to take one of the posts, and I want to add a category to it. Let's update, and where's our stuff? Let's move this over here. Okay. Let me do a hard refresh. Yay! Okay. So we can get it to show up. Now I want to very quickly get rid of that because that doesn't look good when we have two categories. Wonderful. Now if I update again, great, no matching posts. All right. So it works, right? We get the functionality that we want, and let me think I want to see. I don't understand why I had options for a drop down in my code, but I don't know where that would be here. I'm thinking maybe maybe that was something that I wanted to add and I ended up not adding. Like you see where here, where it says filters. I do not understand. See, I mean, there are some parts of this code that I have no idea what I did. I don't remember it. This is a good case for making sure to document what you do really well. I'm interested to see. Let's just take a minute just to see if we can find this. Filters. Oh, of course, it's going to be like this. Let's see if I can go with. There we are. Okay, so it looks like the only options I'm seeing here. Let's go through, see if we can find it. Year. Okay, we have years, and that's it. Okay, so whatever I was trying to do here, evidently I never did, or it's just somewhere where I have no idea where it is. So well, I'm just going to leave that alone. That's one of the dangers of dealing with this old code is of accidentally changing something. Like right now I could say, oh, it looks like I'm not using this at all. Maybe I'll just delete it and then not realize that I've broken something. So I'm just going to leave it in there. And I'm not going to attempt to refactor this because, as I mentioned before, we have kind of halfway rebuilt this in React. So no sense in fixing this up. So this works. We've saved it. Now, let's go back to our terminal. And let's do... let's update our dist, and so dist is short for distribution. So basically what it's going to do is go through everything in this app folder, and it's going to basically, we'll do what we tell it to do in Gulp. So we have a few things running in Gulp. We are going to take all that ES6 syntax and change it to ES5 syntax so older browsers can handle it. It's going to automatically take our Sass and change it to regular CSS. And then it's also going to automatically minify our code. And I don't remember. I may actually have it set up to concatenate some files as well. I can't remember if I did that on this project. Okay, so that's what it's going to do, all of that for us, and it's going to put it into that dist folder. And that's the folder that we want to run on our server, so that when users go to our site, they're given these nice tidy bundles of minified code that is regular CSS and ES5 JavaScript, and it'll be usable by as many people as possible. So that's what we're going to do, and in this case I have it set up so that my command to run all that is just gulp dist. If you'd like to see the gulp file where I set this all up, let me know. I just know, gulp isn't as popular as it once was, so I'm not sure if anybody's even interested. I just had a question. Gulp is more or less an equivalent of Webpack. Yeah, Webpack is different, but it does do a lot of the things that Gulp did. So I don't want to say that they're the same exactly, but for the purposes that people use it for, it is very similar. Okay, now let's do a Git Status to see what's changed. Actually, I forgot. We only changed our package JSON, didn't we? Because we didn't have to make any changes. That is true. Okay. Well, anyway, I still want to go through this process just to show you how we would update it. So let's do that. So we're going to first do a git add, and then we're going to do a git commit. Now you can combine those steps if you want to by doing commit AM, but in this case I separated them out, and we're just going to use M for message. So now we can write our message, and we're going to say update package info, and I'm going to hit enter. So now we have our commit, and now we can go git push. A lot of times you can just do git push and it will work, but if you're working on another branch or different things, you got to do a little bit more. So let's just do the full command now. So we're going to go origin master. So we want to push master, which we may only have one branch actually right now, so it doesn't really matter. But now everything is on GitHub, so we can go back to that GitHub page and give it a little refresh, and we should see our update already. Yep, 40 seconds ago we updated these two files. So there's our update. And if this wasn't a private repo, you all could see that and work on it on your own. I would say at least 90% of the projects we work on are in public repos, so this is just one of those weird ones where this was before I realized how to use environment variables, so there are like API keys and stuff in this project. That's why it's private. And now we're going to use flight plan. And if you're not familiar with flight plan, let me just explain it a bit. Flight plan will take your code and copy it over. So it will look at your code. It'll look at your Git files to make sure of what exactly changed, and it will only copy over those files that changed to your server. All right, and then it will even run commands on your server that you tell it to make sure that those files get in the right folder. So it helps with deployment, and it's very simple to set up. So that's what we're gonna try. I say try because it doesn't always work. So let's do fly production So the reason that we did our dist first and committed that was because actually, you know what? I didn't even need to do that. I don't know what I'm thinking. I did want to demonstrate it, but actually, we don't actually commit our package JSON. We don't push that to the server. So this is just an example of what we would do. But the reason, if you're using Flight Plan, you do need to make sure that you are tracking your dist folder in GitHub, which you don't usually need to do. But because Flight Plan uses Git to determine what has changed, if you're not tracking with Git your dist folder, it won't work. It won't know what's changed unless somehow you build your stuff on the server afterwards. But at this particular server that this is running on, we don't have access to Node, so we can't do npm stuff on it. So anyway, basically, what it's done is it's connected to our server. It's moved the folder to the root, and then it's run some commands, right, to copy our dist folder over to our bulletin folder, which is this is where that runs from. This is the home directory for our bulletin site. And that's it. That's everything that's done. So this could have been done by going into like FileZilla and logging into the server and then manually copying and pasting things or dragging and dropping things. which is fine. It would take, an extra minute or so. But this in the long run ends up being much faster. We just run it and then check back a minute or two later, make sure everything works. And I can run, let me go to the site, Franciscan University /bulletin. You can try to go there if you want, but like I said, it's login only, so you won't be able to get in unless you're a hacker or something and try to get in. In which case, let me know how you did it. Yeah, so that works. Let's check. Yep, there should not be any posts, so that's what we want. There we go. Just to show you some cool things that I did with this. And this is all just jQuery. We have updates for our views. We have a print view. We have a... Did I get rid of classic view? I think I did. I used to have a classic view, but I think I got rid of it. It was kind of a joke because I made it look just like the old Microsoft Word bulletin that everybody got emailed. We have a live search feature. So if I type in the wig stuff, we can get the same thing. So it does the search. So there's a lot of the same functionality that we have with some of the React stuff we've been doing. We have it here as well. Oh, that's a little UI bug, isn't it? Interesting. Huh. Wow. Okay. So I don't know what I did, but evidently if you click the right things, you will mess up the z-index of these. Okay. And this is just, a regular form. Just do like a submit via fetch so we don't get a page refresh or anything. And this is an upload. The file uploads on the back end are just with a basic PHP file upload that I wrote. Yeah, we have some emails that are automatically sent. And I believe, am I using Google? I was using Google Docs for that. I think I ended up switching and using SendGrid or something like that. So, anyway, so that's it. Let me check my time. I think I'm probably almost out of time for this Pomodoro session. Wow, 10 minutes left. Oh. All right, I'm going to go back to the questions, see what questions you all have. It's basically mission accomplished for this one. It ended up being a lot easier than I thought it would be. I didn't think it would be that hard, but I built it the way I thought it should be built. So in my mind, I'm thinking, like, why did I hard code this stuff? I should have just made it automatically pull from WordPress. That's what I thought before I looked at the project. Then when we looked at it and I realized that is exactly what I did, I thought, hey, I'm a pretty smart guy 2 years ago. So I did take the time to do that. All right. I don't remember where I left off. Let me see. Oh, okay. Anna says, Jesse, how was your weekend? Not bad. I went to a wedding, and that was fun. But I wasn't feeling really well, so I was super tired. So the kids had a lot of fun, dancing and eating lots of cookies and stuff. Got to see a lot of my family, so that was fun. And then all the little ones. So all my cousins are all having kids now, and they're all around the same age. So it was really cool that I have all these little ones running around at the wedding and playing together, and so that was really fun. But unfortunately, I didn't get to stay as long as I wanted to because I was just so exhausted. But yeah, it was a good time. Good time this weekend. Thanks for asking, Anna. How was your weekend? I'm trying to scroll down and find questions. Michael says, you were looking for ways to make your streams better. Katie is a step in that direction. Yeah, Katie is awesome. I don't know if she'd be comfortable being on the stream all the time, though. But actually, let me know. Would you all like it if I actually had someone in here, maybe someone even who's learning how to code, that would be here with me and would ask questions? And I don't know. That's definitely possible. I mean, I have another chair, so I could have at least one other person. And yeah, if you think that's something that you might like seeing, I'll definitely try it out. I know there are some students who may be interested, and some of my coworkers who may be interested as well. If I'm streaming from home, I might be able to get my wife to do it. She is learning to code as well. She usually doesn't like to be on camera, but maybe she'll do it. Let's see. Vishaka says, thanks. So the stream should be watched in continuation. She was saying thanks to Phoenix. So this live stream should be watched in continuation. You know what? They can, but there are quite a few of them. So it may be really difficult. If you do try to watch a lot of them, I definitely recommend watching them on 2x speed, because it's just so much to get through. So don't feel like you have to go through step by step to understand things. I don't think you do necessarily. And I think it's just way too much material for a person to reasonably be expected to go through. I mean, we have almost a year of... I need to look up when my first live stream was, because we're coming up on a year of live streams. So it might be fun to actually acknowledge that when the day comes, if I haven't already missed it. But there are, well over, I believe, 100 hours of live streams for sure. Michael says, wow, is that on GeoCities? No, it's not that old. How many people had an old website on GeoCities? Or what was the other one, like Angel Fire? How many had a site on one of those like free hosting plans back in the day? I definitely did. Harshit says, this has Sentry error as well. Saw the Raven script tag. Yeah. So I do have some error reporting with Sentry on this. So I was pretty thoughtful about what I was doing on this. I liked it when it came out, but I just think, I don't know. I've come a long way coding, so there's so many things that I think now like that I could have done better. But at the time it was probably the best thing I'd ever made. All right, Joe said the site looks great. Yeah, it's style-wise, it's not really that far off from a lot of the newer things that we've been doing. Don Xavier says, hey, and we all have our treasure trove of depressing code. It's implied, and nice to take a walk on memory lane sometimes. Yeah, it is fun. It's fun to check out the old code. Hey, John Hansen's here. Hey, John, how's it going? All right, Michael said I thought of was relatively new, so like the for of loops. So you're forward thinking even then. Yeah, I mean I did use some newer stuff, and I had the Babel like transpiling set up so that I could use that. John says, is it worth it to reconfigure a site that uses jQuery and then change it all to JavaScript? I guess it depends on what the site is and what your goal is for the site. Sorry, I'm a little tired. I'm trying to quit drinking coffee for like a week just to like try to reset my tolerance, because I was getting to the point where I could drink coffee all day and still be tired. I could drink an espresso and go to sleep. So I think that's a problem. So I'm trying to just cut it off, but I am quite sleepy. Um, let's see. Yeah, so John, I don't know. I mean, if for this site in particular, if I wasn't already halfway through rebuilding it again in React, it might be worth it to try to change it to use vanilla JavaScript, but I don't know. I mean, it works right now with the jQuery. So is it, if it's working and it's quick, it performs well, and it gets the job done, maybe there's not really much reason to want to change it from jQuery to vanilla JavaScript. I mean, there's still a lot of jQuery out there, and there are a lot of jobs for being able to use jQuery. Like, there has to be, right? Because so many sites use it. So, not that there's... I'm not trying to say that jQuery is wrong in every situation. Definitely don't want to use it with React. But with other sites, it's a valid option. Harshit said, what is the need of push if you added the post in WordPress? Yep, you were entirely right, Harshit. I did not need to push anything. The only thing that we actually changed was that package.json file. So in terms of functionality, I did not need to push anything. Glad I made those changes to package.json, though, because I did want to go through the process of it, at least for those of you that are learning Git. Jason said, I saw one of your sites was for a college in Ohio. Assumed you might have been from Ohio. Oh, yeah. I currently live in Steubenville, Ohio. I actually live like right outside of city limits, but it's still, the address is still Steubenville. I am from West Virginia, though, right at the very like northernmost part of West Virginia, near Pittsburgh. But I now live just across the border in Ohio. Francesca says, what? No talking to yourself? Yeah. All right, full disclosure here. I do sometimes talk to myself when I'm coding, but it's usually when I get upset, and then I say things that I might not say around my children. So that's when I will talk to myself. Or if I do something really awesome and it works, then I may like have exclamations of joy, and usually like jump up out of my seat. I throw my headphones down and I like go out the door and look for somebody who I can tell. And usually I find somebody who I'm like trying to explain what I did with the code, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. But they're usually really awesome about it and congratulate me anyway. Michael says, you don't talk to yourself when working on a problem. That's when I work the best because of the stares from coworkers. It's why I'm better working on my own. But because of the stares from coworkers, it's why I'm better working on my own. Yeah, you know what? You are right. Whenever I'm streaming and I get to talk through step by step what I'm trying to do, I will often find like problems in my logic or in my code. So maybe I should start talking to myself more, even when I'm not streaming. That might not be a bad idea. I have had my kids like sitting with me when I'm coding before, and I'll try to talk it through with them, and it's helped me, and I found like errors that way. Oh, Michael says, just found out about the bracket pair colorizer extension for VS Code. Oh yeah, you know what? I heard about that. Um, that's a really cool plugin. So if you've ever tried to figure out what's going on with your brackets, like which brackets go together, and if you've missed one or not, that can definitely be very helpful. Oh yeah, Harshit says I got in already. Yeah, you did. I don't remember how you did it though, Harshit. Um, and I remember I wasn't that worried about it because we were going to switch it over to React, and then we didn't have time. Phoenix says, "Oh yes, totally." So I had asked, like, would it be cool to have other people on the stream, like right here with me in my office? And Phoenix said, "Yes, totally. You can also do pair programming. It will add a whole new dimension to these streams." Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I guess that would be cool. I'm definitely gonna think about that. I'll talk to some people around here to see if I can get somebody like physically in the office, and I'll talk to my wife, see if she's interested, and then maybe can do some remote pair programming as well. Vishaka says, new coder seems like a pretty good idea, but you did a great job of answering questions. Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, most likely, most of the streams will still just be me, because it's a lot to ask for somebody to take this much time out of their day. But maybe occasionally I could, have somebody else on the stream. Let's see. All right, and it says, my weekend was great. I walked in the forest with my family. Oh, awesome. And I think I saw your Instagram post, the picture of the forest. It was really beautiful. Cool. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Phoenix says May 3rd, 2017 was the first stream. Okay, cool. I'll have to see, because I did start streaming on my own channel first, but if we want to count like the first free code camp stream, maybe we'll do that, because if I check we may already be past the date when I started on my own channel. That's cool. I need to check and see how many videos I've done and like how many hours it's been, because I have no idea. John Hansen says, I had an old Yahoo website. CSS tables, anyone? Oh, yeah, for sure. Remember doing the layout and tables, iframes. John Hansen says, so Gamer Noob says, if it isn't broken, right, like if it isn't broken, don't fix it. John Hansen says, true, though I'm not against jQuery, I do find reading JavaScript code, it makes more sense to me than trying to read some old jQuery code I've written. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you do write in jQuery, anybody that's not familiar with jQuery may not be able to read it. Before, even just a few years ago, like everybody at least was familiar with jQuery, it seemed like. Even if people were against jQuery, at least they still were aware of it and knew about it. But it seems like newer devs, especially like if they're coming through boot camps, if the boot camp just goes like vanilla JavaScript and then straight into React or something like that, they may have never been exposed to any jQuery and will have no idea, because it definitely is different. You try to make things happen on a screen or buttons function and stuff in React, it's a whole different mindset than the way you do it in jQuery. So, I think like moving forward, if that's still the case and it goes like that, where you have people just completely skipping the jQuery, because I don't know, it seems to me like it used to be the way the tutorials always went, at least the ones that I did, a couple years ago, where you learn HTML, CSS, then you jumped into jQuery. And after jQuery, then you got into more like vanilla JavaScript stuff. So people were learning jQuery first, just to be able to get some sites like working. So now I don't see that as much anymore with some of the newer boot camps and tutorials. John Hansen says, talking to yourself is a sign of high intelligence, or so I keep telling myself. I like that one. Okay. Harshit, I see your message about authentication and stuff. So just maybe if you get time, let me know like in a DM or something. Or if you already sent it to me, just tell me and I'll try to look for it. Vishaka says, what kind of topics do you speak in the conferences? So let me think. I have done a talk like on my live streaming. So at November, my talk was about my experience in live streaming and like the amazing community that's been built up around the stream and how it's changed my life as a developer. I mean, really, it's changed my life in general, not just as a developer. Um, you know, being able to hang out with you all and just share experiences, not just coding experiences, but being able to share things about my mental health and my family and just everything, and learning about you all. Like, I mean, there's a lot of interaction that even goes on beyond the stream, on Instagram and Twitter and different social media networks, even through email, where I get to communicate with a lot of you all. And yeah, so that was my talk, and that one is if you want to watch that talk, it's on my YouTube channel. The link to my channel is in the description. So it was actually live streamed from my channel. So you can check that out if you want. I'm giving a talk. I just did a talk for the Moms Can Code Virtual Summit. And that talk, I believe, is only available if you're a member of Moms Can Code. So I'm not sure how much it costs to be a member. So I can't say now what it costs. But if you're already a member or you want to be a member, you can check out that talk. That talk was about my experience of coming from a background of being in business and then being a teacher and then transitioning into, being a web developer and kind of like what I went through. And that was like, I tried to keep the talk really short and have a lot of time for question and answers. And there were so many questions, it ended up being, really good. And that was an interesting talk because it was, mostly women in the audience. I think there were like 160 or so women. So usually I think my audience for the streams are mostly men. So that was really actually interesting to like what kind of questions I got. And so I did like that. And I'm going to speak at the Pittsburgh Tech Fest. I'm going to speak about building using WordPress as a content management system for React and using GraphQL and Apollo with that. So that our Project 5 that we've been working on, it's basically going to be a mini demo, like stripped down to the basics of what we've been doing there. Oh, cool. Francesca says Moms Can Code is only $50 a year if you get paid for a whole year up front, or $5 a month. Okay, so that's pretty affordable, at least for the United States. That's pretty affordable. Awesome, thanks for that. And Francesca, I see it says you got to get your kids from daycare. I said thanks, Jesse. Talk to you later. You're welcome. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, go and get your kids. And let's see. I lost my place. Where am I at? Oh, hey, Oliver's here. Oliver says hi. Hey, Oliver, how you doing? Okay, and Michael says, actual serious question for once. Do you have a base package JSON file you use that has all your usual modules? Actually, yeah, for my old like jQuery projects and just basic websites, I do, and that's pretty much this package JSON file. So this one was frequently copied, where I have gulp, and you can see I have Babel, so I can use the newer versions of JavaScript. I minify my HTML. I have a package in there to minify images. This inject lets me put like analytics code in after the fact. Obviously, we're going to minify our CSS. This lets me use Sass. Uglify is minifying our JavaScript. Uncache basically adds, like, you can see it on the screen, it adds like a string of numbers to the end of your file names so that browsers don't keep old versions of your code cached. Like if you just name your JavaScript app.js, it might be aggressively cached by a browser, and so your users might not get the update. The browser will just keep using the cached version, and it's the same thing for CSS. And then useman, let's see, replaces non-optimized scripts or style sheets into a set of HTML files. Templates we use. I had to do useman for something. Oh, okay. All right. That basically takes like my development site. Uses references to the unminified, untranspiled versions of my JavaScript, my CSS, and then when it goes to disk, it automatically changes the references so that it starts referencing the optimized files in the disk folder. So that's what that does. So this is my base thing. It automates a lot, and it lets me get started really quickly. I haven't used this in a while because we've been working with React stuff, and I have a whole different set of things for React. But this is really helpful if you just want to make a basic like one pager or just something really simple and you don't think you need to use a larger framework for. I recommend this, and I'm sure all these are out of date, so there's probably a lot of updating that could take place since this was from 2 years ago. But I probably have this available on some of the other projects. So if you wanted to copy this from GitHub, just check out some of the other jQuery one-page projects, and feel free to use that if you'd like. Vishaka says, any tips for submitting proposals for conferences? I'll try to give some tips, but to be honest with you, I feel like I'm pretty new at submitting to conferences. I get rejected by most of the conferences I submit to. So I don't know if I'm doing a good job at it or not. But I will say, when you are submitting, my strategy right now is I have a talk that's more like they consider it as a soft skills talk, right? So I talk more about my live coding and my experience there. And then I have a talk that's more technical. So when I submit, I always submit multiple proposals, depending on what a conference wants. Because sometimes a conference, they may want something that's not so technical, or so you don't always know what they want ahead of time. So I like to submit at least 2. And you definitely want, you want your title and the beginning of your description to grab their attention. Be honest about the title, but definitely don't be afraid to have it be something eye-catching. My November talk that I did get selected for, the title of the talk was How Live Coding Changed My Life. So it's kind of dramatic, right? It's true. I'm not lying about that, but it's definitely a dramatic title. So that kind of would stand out to somebody that maybe is getting a ton of talks. They're just saying I don't know, optimize your Webpack build or something. Really kind of more bland things. So that's pretty much my only advice. I really ought to study up more on how to do proper proposals, and I just, how it is, you just get busy with everything. You got family and work and everything, and sometimes stuff like that just gets pushed to the side, and you just do the best you can. I do recommend going to papercall.io. Papercall.io has a bunch of conferences there. It'll tell you info about the conferences. You can get notified when new conference calls for papers open up, and you can save your proposals and then just auto submit them, so you don't have to keep typing all the same stuff out again. So try it. Check that site out. I think it's papercall.io. Andrew says, is it okay for a front-end dev to learn back-end as well? Oh, for sure, yeah. I think it's good. I think it's good for people who do back-end to learn a little front-end, and front-end people to learn a little bit of back-end, because sometimes they bleed over into each other. I'm sure you all have seen during this, during my streams, sometimes we do a lot of back-end stuff, because although I'm a front-end developer by title, realistically, I do what I have to do to get projects done. So depending on where you work, you may need to do that as well. If you're working on a project like on your own, you're going to have to do everything. Regardless of what you consider yourself, front end or back end, you're going to have to do the work. So at this point, I mean, honestly, I've applied for and been offered jobs for full stack, because I can do that. So when I go into an interview, I say, yes, my title is front end developer, but we don't have a a back end developer that works on our projects with me. So like realistically, I am full stack in what I have to do. Michael says, if there was only a way for me to see that talk in Pittsburgh about GraphQL, React, Apollo, hopefully that'll be streamed somewhere. Yeah, I don't know what the plans are in terms of recording, but I'll probably ask the organizers if there's any way, like if they're not going to record or stream it, I'll ask them if I can, and then I'll just get somebody, I'll have to get somebody to stream it. Maybe I'll find somebody in the audience to hold my phone and stream it. And I don't think my wife has tickets to that one. Maybe I'll see if she wants to get tickets. If she doesn't, and she'll come with me. My wife's actually the one that got me tickets to the Google I/O conference, which is really cool. Devesh says, can I please know what exactly web developers do and what kind of work is assigned to them? All right, so I'm going to be very general in this, because there's a wide range of different types of things web developers do and how they go about doing it. But basically, a web developer would be assigned work to either build or update a website or web app, and it would be their job to make that happen. And there's a variety of different technologies that they would use and programming languages that they could use. On the front end side of things, they're definitely going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's pretty standard. But on the back end, there's much more variety in what they could use. They could use JavaScript. It could be PHP, Python. I don't really know. I've never used anything other than JavaScript and PHP for back end, but there's a variety. We did do some C# now that I think about it. So C#, there's a lot of different things that you can use there. So it's hard to say for sure what they're going to be doing, but that's basically what they will do. So if you have any more specific stuff, I could get into more specifics, but it's just such a broad thing that it's hard to say for sure what any one web developer would be doing. And that's it. That's the end of the live chat. So unless any other questions sneak in there in the next minute or so, I think I'm going to wrap things up. And thank you all so much for watching and for all the awesome questions and comments. It was really fun today. Hopefully you all, liked me going back and doing this. Sometimes it's nice to have a little break from the project we've been working on for what it seems like so long. So if you really hate when I do this kind of thing, let me know. If you really like it, let me know. If you don't say anything at all, I'll just assume it was okay. I'm not going to do this all the time, but occasionally it might be nice. So let's say, what's today? Wednesday, Thursday. All right, I'll be in the office again on Thursday. I should be able to stream. Let me think. I don't know what my schedule's like Thursday, so I don't know when exactly I'll be able to stream. So I'll put something on Twitter and probably on Instagram, and then if you turn on your notifications for this YouTube channel, the Free Code Camp channel, you should get a notification as well. So if you're active on Twitter or Instagram, maybe think about following me so you can get updates on when I'm going to stream as well. Links are in the description for those accounts. So should be back. Oh, we had one more question. Ardian, you got it in there just in time. Can Can you tell me one thing to start so I can do freelance? If you want to do freelance stuff, honestly, depending on what you're into, I would say like start with your local businesses. And I've never done this, but I've heard people have success with this. They actually build a website for a local business before they get a job, like a demo website, and then show that to them and say, look how nice this website is. It'll bring you, whatever new customers. It'll solve this problem for you or something like that. And then you can potentially get them as a client. And even if you don't get them as a client, you have something in your portfolio. So, like I said, I haven't used that in particular, but I've heard other people have been successful with that strategy. So you may want to give that a try. And Michael says, by the way, if you can sneak me into the conference in New Orleans, I'd be okay with that. Yeah, you know what? I'm actually not going to go to that conference. So I ended up, after I looked at what the talks would be, I realized, you know what, this is geared towards like upper management and not really towards developers. So I decided although I got free tickets, I'd still have to pay for my own flight and my hotel. So, or my employer would. Either way, I would rather spend that money going to a conference that I would get more out of. So there was a lot of really cool stuff about that conference, but I don't think it would help me that much professionally. So I decided against it, but it would have been really cool. I think I wanted to see New Orleans more than I actually wanted to see the speakers at the conference. So just couldn't really justify that. All right, so now I'm done with the questions. I'm going to get out of here for real now. Thank you so much, and have a great day. I'll see y'all tomorrow.